If you can't set a boundary, just think about what you can do in those situations to look after yourself.
So Women's Aid are also running a winter appeal. They said they're anticipating a 15% rise over the festive period. So give me some ideas about some of the the top things that some of your followers have been asking.
The number one is...
You've contacted me and said, well, I want to do something around sort of the Christmas period. Is it in the kind of how to survive, tips and tricks?
Yeah, let me just... My notes have fell on the floor. So
we are so prepared.
Here's one I prepared earlier. Sorry,
you actually do look like a news...
That's my PA.
Of course it was. Yeah, and over to the weather.
But I think it's more about having a warm, open conversation that you probably wouldn't get access to otherwise. These are the things that my people have kind of said, look, these are the big things for me. So
give me some ideas about some of the the top things that some of your followers have been asking.
The number one is grief.
Okay.
So
and that's a big one.
Number
isn't
one's
it?
grief. Yeah, it's a big one. Family dynamics, they're all big. They're all just like massive. They're just so many different things you could kind of spin off into, but family dynamics. Yeah, one of my closest friends was like, oh, it's the guilt around the gifts. That's the thing that she was feeling, that whole comparisonitis.
Guilt around the gifts. That almost sounds like the title of a song.
Yeah,
not a good Christmas song.
So yeah, big topics. Alcohol. But again, that can range because people are either trying to cut down, or people are abstinent, or people don't feel like they want to get involved. And then there's the relationship challenges. So I guess maybe that'd go in with the family dynamics, but it's maybe potentially parents that have found themselves newly single at Christmas, and maybe they're without their children on Christmas Day, and how that is for them.
And that is the norm now. Is there's a lot of families that are not together. There's a lot of single mums bringing up kids. I'm single dad bringing up kids.
Yeah.
So there's all the ferrying around of kids to the parents that have agreed in appropriate times. So additional stresses. Oh, I can't have a drink now because I've got to go and take the kids to. We're not getting on, so the handover is going to be awkward. And I didn't get a present, or I couldn't afford a present.
Yes.
Other things like that, are all prerequisites for tension.
Definitely, absolutely, and I think as well, our heart goes out to those people that are maybe having to spend more time with partners. I've been doing a lot of work this week with Women's Aid, so it's kind of, because we won't go into the specific detail. So what I want this to be as light-hearted and comfortable as possible, but it's got to be real. And I just will put the show notes if contacts for people, because it is a fact that domestic violence increases tenfold over this time of year because we're all together. So it's important to recognise people that are in situations that there is help out there, and just to take extra care around this time of year, especially because there's alcohol involved, there's tension, there's extra time, there's pressure. It's just a melting pot sometimes for and
I guess if you add resentment into that with other family dynamics as well, it is a fuel, isn't it?
So it's just a lot. It's a big time for when you think like one day. It's a lot.
I was thinking about when we had a chat before we started the show. I was just trying to think of some good personal story that I've got with regards to Christmas stresses and strains, and initially couldn't think of anything. Then I do remember when I was a kid, we came from sort of a separated home, so to speak. I actually met my dad when I was 18, so it was quite a new experience to have this bigger, broader family that I'd been looped into and open arms, but there was a step parent that just didn't like me, and it was very, very clear from day one. Being young and naive, I think I might have been 19 or 20 when I actually went there for my first Christmas, which was down with family in Bournemouth. The stepmother, it was all the stroke and stab, the subtleties in nice and nasty comments. didn't notice it, but there was a bitter taste, and I couldn't quite figure it out. But it made me feel very uncomfortable.
Mm.
That didn't stop for years, and it was only until I'd grown a little bit more mature, I realised that there was a sort of more of a sinister attitude. But I never liked going there, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me. I just, she seemed nice, she was saying nice things, but it didn't translate very well. But that was one Christmas where I remember sitting in an armchair in a house of people that supposedly a family, didn't know them, but then I was being covertly treated badly by this
Mm.
one individual, and I can safely say it did affect me for quite a few years. Couldn't put my finger on it. I couldn't articulate what the problem was,
Oh
but
gosh.
the beauty of reflection, hey, and obviously personal growth and development. You have an opportunity
Mm.
to look back at these things and go, yeah, I can see what happened. But that's the only kind of bad story, other than being a young man that spent a lot of time on his own. But I think perhaps in some ways, some of that was translated into having a lot of gifts, and I don't know whether that was a
Mm.
guilty parent or just
Mm.
having the funding that they could just splurge at Christmas. Uh,
Mm.
so in some respects, my Christmases have always been good, but there was the one particular one that kind of had a bitter aftertaste for a few years. I don't know what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if you've had bad experiences that you can share.
Yeah, I think Christmas is. I was the youngest of four children, so it was and there was a big age gap. So,
Mm,
um, I, I feel like I was always growing up quickly. Really, I do have fond memories of Christmas. Yeah, I do have fond memories of Christmas. I remember things like, and it's the small things, isn't it? You look back and you think, actually it wasn't the big presents, it was the decorating of the tree, or just little things. I guess if I was to piece it all together and theme it, it'd be the little moments I probably got to spend with my mum. So yeah, I do have moments of looking back, but it was busy. Our house was busy at Christmas.
mm.
So yeah, so that is different. It was lots of, we were the textbook kind of chair from the garage, chair from the,
That's what I
four
was going to
trestle
say.
tables.
Sounds quite traditional. Everyone's sitting on a different chair around the dining room.
Yeah. Grandparents in the corner having a
Yeah,
nap, like just, things
and someone
everywhere. So
sitting
it
on a
was it was
box because you
hectic.
ran out.
Yes. Yeah, exactly that. So it was busy. It was really, really busy. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. And you were talking about the work that you're doing with an organisation.
Yeah, so as part of the job that I do privately,
Yeah,
I will signpost to relevant charities. So I'm always reaching out to organisations and finding out which ones would be the best fit for the client. So in particular, from the private work that I've done recently, there's just been a lot of questions and signposted needed, sorry, to Women's Aid, which are a
right. Okay.
fantastic charity.
Let's look at domestic violence figures
Mm.
over the Christmas. I wonder if they've actually got some stats.
Oh yeah, they will have.
Christmas period. It's quite hard to type with one hand. It's hard for me to type full stop. So this is a study by the Guardian back in 2003. What have we got? Well, that's interesting because the first thing it says, the cost of living has made a massive difference with
Right.
regards to the increase in domestic violence.
Lots of it goes unreported.
Yeah. So Women's Aid are also running a winter appeal. They said they're anticipating a 15% rise over the festive period.
Yeah.
And that's hard, isn't it?
Mm.
Christmas is hard enough. We're trying to buy things we can't afford, sticking things on credit card. I'm sure there's an awful lot of embarrassed parents at the moment standing at the till waiting to see if the credit card's going to be declined or not.
Mm.
And then
Mm.
I guess the anticipation of going back home to, from what you were saying earlier, as soon as you mix alcohol into the fold, then
Mm.
it's just a pressure pot waiting
Mm.
to explode, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And perhaps outside of the Christmas period, there's a break from specific, from the partner, and it just gives a little bit of time, whereas you're kind of forced into a lot more time together.
Yeah.
So yeah, just think that the stresses and the extra strain can all kind of build up. So yeah, it explains why there's such an increase.
What do you think might be some good coping strategies if for someone in that pressure pot example?
I will always say to reach out to Women's Aid or any, we'll put some notes in the show notes. So have a
Yeah,
look. There's some really good websites where you can actually log in and you can quickly, there's like an exit button on there as well.
right.
So you can exit the site quickly. So that's really helpful for people that don't want to kind of get seen on there, but there is also lots of useful information there. So I think it is about reaching out and understanding that there are people and places that can help you. And even though I think it feels like you're on your own and you probably deal with it day in, day out, there's a lot of people that can help and that are used to dealing with lots and lots of different situations.
Yeah. Thinking aloud here, we're talking
Yeah.
about Women's Aid. You were talking about the website. I didn't
Mm,
know that there was that kind of jump
mm,
off the screen button. That seems like a really obvious thing to
mm.
have. Genius. Domestic violence isn't just related to what women experience, but it can also be what men experience.
Yeah.
Do you know of any support organisations for men in a similar situation?
So there's the National Domestic Abuse Helpline, Men's Advice Line. That's what that one is. And Refuge. Okay. So there's Women's Aid and there is Refuge. Refuge are a huge charity as well. Massive.
Yeah, I've got one
So
here,
if
and
you,
it's
if you
called the Mankind Initiative, supporting male
mm,
victims of domestic violence. And it isn't really
yeah.
isn't really talked about much because I think still men suffer with this stiff upper lip.
Mm,
Either no one will believe me, or they just think I'm weak because it's I'm a man
mm,
and I'm being
mm.
abused by my partner.
Yeah,
Uh, but
absolutely.
but it's certainly something not to be brushed under the carpet. And I do like saying this. We can put these links in the description.
Yeah, definitely. And I think actually, yeah, probably not focusing on too much on Women's Aid. I was just checking then. Refuge is really, really good. And I've just checked their website and they again have this quick exit button. But it says, about men. So Refuge seems to be a good all round. So refuge.org.uk seems to be a good all round support system for both. But where I've noticed that Women's Aid can step in and help is when it's
Yeah,
the sort of emergency temporary accommodation and things like that,
yeah,
because you
yeah.
would reach out to your
More
local
pressing and more
branch.
immediate. Yeah. And I guess if there's kids involved as well, it's the
Mm,
intensity to get these young ladies safe is
yeah,
that they're more important, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What other stresses and strains do you think we might struggle with at Christmas? Let's choose a family setting. What do you think might be one of the big ones?
I think there's a lot of people are going to be dealing with grief in some way.
Yeah,
There's going to be lots of different experiences of how people navigate grief around this time of year. It's the most common thing that people have kind of um, asked me about, really.
and why do you think that is? Is it because we're on our own? Is it because we're getting we're lonely, or we might be with lots of people, but we don't have those personal connections? So again, we're lonely. What do you think might be the contributor to that?
But I mean, this is obviously coming from my hilltop, but it never really leaves you grief. It
Yeah,
becomes heightened. I think that's what it is. It's heightened at this time of year. So that is, it can be down to watching things on television or
oh,
just
tear-jerking
reflecting,
movies
tear
remind you of a
jerking, like cut
situation.
them out. That's it. That's top.
Yeah,
We'll skip to the end of this. That is the top tip. Like no Christmas films. But literally, I think it is heightened. And the thing is, grief is so different for each person that it really is about taking care of yourself. So for example, some people really like to celebrate that person on the day, or people. And
Mm.
there's some people might set a place, some people might write a letter, share photos, whatever's right for that sort of family setting. And other people don't want to do that. They want to kind of hit the fast forward button, I guess, and
Well,
just
like
kind of
skip Christmas
skip,
so they can
yeah, just
skip the
kind of
pain.
maybe, yeah. And I think it's so, I think the thing to do is to really make sure that, I guess, as well, it can be combined, can't it? If because you're all together at Christmas, maybe you've lost somebody very, very close. We've all got those different experiences. So I think it's important to take time for yourself, I think, and reflect on, give it 5-10 minutes, go and have a cup of tea, go and think about, or that person, or just give yourself a little bit of time on your own as well, and understand that it does pass. The emotion, it's heightened, but it's important at the time that we recognize that it's okay to feel like that. And it does pass. It does
Mm.
pass, not as in that feeling, but emotions pass. So it's just managing yourself on that day, and just making sure that you honor how you're feeling, if you like, and understand it's really individual for each person.
I guess if you've lost a partner,
Mm,
you've also lost the person
yeah.
that can join in and laugh about something you did, or a film that
Mm,
you watched many moons ago. That you
mm,
kind of lose a much bigger legacy, much bigger
mm,
connection. If that person's now out of your life, you've a big part of you goes with that. And I
mm,
can only imagine that it's at times like at Christmas when you are all together with family, or you are very much alone.
yeah.
It's got to be one of the better opportunities and chances to get through the Christmas period, to go and share it with someone, to find someone,
Mm,
even if it's just to talk to on the phone,
yeah.
or reach out to
Yeah.
an old school friend that you've not spoken to in years. Just do something positive so you can celebrate your history. You can connect with someone on an emotional basis, and try and connect with some depth, as opposed to ruminating deep in and immersed in that grief. It's just going
Mm.
to exacerbate. It's going to almost kind of like feed the feeling.
No. And it's a catch-22, I guess, for people, because we know that connection is really helpful.
Yeah.
But when we're in the trenches, we don't want to connect. So it is, I think what you've just said is really important. It's almost like, okay, what positive can I draw from this? And it's that kind of age-old expression of that, what would that person want me to be doing right now? Like, can you draw on that as a kind of basis for, I'm sure that person would want you to be
They're going to
happy.
want you happy.
They,
And that is,
mm,
if they have an ounce of care or value for you, your
yeah,
relationship was real, they're going to want you happy. And it's
yeah,
somehow trying to claw your way over that
mm,
confirmation bias. I've got to
yes,
feel bad. I've got to look for
yeah,
bad things because it's Christmas. I felt like it
mm,
last year, and I felt like it the year before. That bill that came in on Christmas Eve, I knew this was going to happen. That confirmation bias.
yeah,
It's not. It's just
yeah,
day to day life just creeping in, and it's finding those connections. Bit like the way the podcast is going. We're meeting new people. Life is exciting.
mm,
You can invigorate new conversations and dialogues, and I'm just trying to think out this loud myself. What would it be like for me if I was on my own?
mm,
2014, when I started my counselling course, I worked at the homeless shelter in Winchester with a few other
mm,
trainee counsellors. I don't think I realised how much until having kids and family now, I've realised that the giving back, and it is a bit of a cliche as far as Christmas is concerned, but the giving back is probably the most important thing. And
yeah,
when you're in a good or a bad place yourself, doing something good for other people is absolutely imperative. And I think it's probably partially why you and I perhaps do the work that we do. It's serving our community, serving people. Perhaps us being on our own, we might see it as a bit of a, oh, thank goodness for that. I need a break. Versus there's a bigger picture in play that we've got a responsibility, perhaps.
I love that, because that is definitely in line with positive psychology and all the things that I help people to understand and about themselves. And that is it. There is so much research around giving to that there's so many things. Just by helping somebody cross the road, it feels good. It feels good to be nice. We are wired to be nice and connect. And so it then becomes a case of, okay, I need to kind of, like you say, make a change. If I'm ruminating, if I'm noticing that I'm expecting Christmas to be the same, there's got to be a part, that part of, it's about drawing on that part. So perhaps that's where we say, oh, partner or whoever wouldn't want me to do that, and
Yeah.
trying something different. It's daring to try something different, because surely at that point you would have a choice, and that's okay. If you choose and you think, I just want to spend all day in my pajamas, cry my eyes out and look at photographs, like, that's fine. It's just
Well, there's
whatever.
something in spending that, isn't there? Don't
Yeah.
don't devalue the importance of engagement.
Mm,
This hurts. Okay, good.
mm,
Why don't we sit with it for a bit longer? Why don't we kind of see what it means, what it feels like? You never know, if you can just, like you say, sit in your pajamas. I don't have pajamas, but if I had pajamas and I was sat there crying over somebody that meant the absolute world to me, I think
mm,
I would genuinely feel more connected to them and almost calmer.
mm,
I can just get a sense that there would be a sense of calm by just
mm,
engaging with it and then kind of taking a deep breath and going, okay,
mm.
that was then that's
Yeah.
taken its path maybe.
And it's, as I say, grief is really raw and really painful, and it is about honestly finding your own way through. I think it's just kind of noticing. For me, I think, to bring it back to yourself, whatever your experience is noticing, like you just say, that emotion. And then proper self-care is like, okay, what's going on? Because then we're going to be looking at a set of behaviors after that bit of CBT. But like, what, making sure that you are catching yourself, making sure that it's kind of like, okay, I'm feeling like this, and kind of perhaps take a moment to step outside, kind of do some breathing, just catching yourself before we get you getting kind of in that sort of cycle, in that loop. I think just kind of understanding, again, it's all individual. Some people, it'll come in waves, it'll be hour by hour. Some people might get through quite a few hours, and then it hits them, or so it's just about taking care in those moments, and recognizing it's heightened for that day, and just really giving yourself an opportunity to
Yeah.
practice self-care on another level.
And I guess that's going to be hard if you're, let's use the example that you made earlier about, your traditional sort of family upbringing as far as,
Mm,
everyone's crammed into the house. You've lost a partner, you're with a whole bunch of family, potentially not getting on with some of them. There's a bit of a toxic uh, background. It's not
mm.
an easy environment. How would you manage that grief then? Because you could still be lonely with a house full of people.
Oh, absolutely. And to be fair, although when I was saying, like, that's my early memories, like, a lot of my childhood was fueled by, I was around a lot of alcohol. I don't particularly, it was busy, it was a busy house. Um, but that's not that's not the case for us now. I have a very small unit and a small family, so I don't have any extended family. So I can answer
Right.
that perfectly.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's about setting boundaries, And it's about understanding that, you know, situations do change. People, you know, people lose parents, things, you know, life changes. But I have my own family now, and they're my priority. And I try not to compare myself to, you know, the all of the other families that are there cramming together, because I can only do what I can do, and I'm enough.
Yeah.
And
That's interesting. When you just said that's I'm enough, a little bit of a tangent, but I think it knits in. No, is
mm,
it Mel Robbins? I think she's amazing. Daughter shared a quote with her. You know, if someone's giving a hard time or they're giving
yeah,
it's a challenging situation, let them. And I don't know if
mm,
you heard that expression before. Just let them.
yeah,
That sounds like that could be a good strategy for Christmas. Let them.
mm,
You know, if they
yeah,
are if they're giving you a hard time or they create a bit of an air or a sense in the room, let them. It kind of leans towards what you were just saying. It's about boundaries. And,
yeah,
you know, maybe boundaries are a difficult one to explain sometimes because I don't think people fully understand what a boundary
mm,
is or how you behave to assert a boundary.
mm.
And in close proximity at Christmas, I should imagine that's quite hard as well.
I think that for me, I think that Christmas is going to bring these things out. Fundamentally, if people are struggling with family members and they cannot bear the thought of going to a family arrangement, like, why are we going? Literally,
Yeah,
why are we going? So there's something around that, and there's something around the fact that we want to set the boundaries, but perhaps this isn't the right time to do that. But you know, you could you drop in on a FaceTime? Could you do something virtually? Can you do any, you know, the best to
yeah,
protect
that's a good
yourself? We
idea.
don't have to go to these things. And if we're setting a boundary with a family member, and then that results in some really narky behavior or reaction to us saying
Conflict, yeah.
no,
Mm.
then perhaps it's not the time to deal with it on that day. You know, if you are in awareness that actually you've kind of set a boundary and someone's not been happy about that, I think it's about rising above. It's about almost being your own drone and kind of, you know, understanding that the conflicts and just being the bigger person and coming
Let
away
them.
from that. Let
Yeah,
them, exactly that. And then you know what? When things have calmed down, um, you really should be able to have a conversation with somebody and say, hey, I really want to talk about something that's really important. And this is where we get into the situation of, if that other person isn't willing to meet you and listen, and you listen to them as well, because they'll have feedback, I'm sure, like, that's where it becomes a different sort of style of um managing the relationship, if you like, because, you know, we have to be able to sit and have healthy conversations with each other and explain why we're upset without conflict.
yeah. I don't think there's going to be a household in the UK over the
No,
Christmas period where it's going to be all sunshine and lollipops for the entire period. And I think, you know,
def
that let them, that boundary, being the bigger person, holding yourself accountable not to respond, because what will it do? It's kind of feeding the fire, isn't it? It's knowing, perhaps in some ways, knowing when to choose and pick your battles.
yeah, but I know, and I was absolutely, but I was just thinking about what you were talking about before, and you know, it's the passive aggressive. I think that,
Oh.
yeah, that,
Well,
I think,
and that's what I
yeah,
hadn't noticed when I was
mm,
20 years old at the Christmas, and I was thinking, this doesn't feel right. Why am I, you know,
no,
why have I got this bitter taste in my mouth?
yeah, because I think we pick things up, we pick, and something's off, but actually that person's like, they're okay, they're fine on the surface, actually, but behind they've got real agenda. And actually, I think we pick that up. And
Yeah,
when we're younger, we don't really know. I don't know, that kind of, I think that feels unsafe, but we don't really. There's no words for that. It's just a feeling. Um, and if we've not, if we're coming from a bit of a hurt place, or we're a bit sensitive at the moment, it's so natural then to jump in and want to people please, that it
and I think
just,
you just hit the nail on the head. it's a tough time of year. We might be
Mm,
sensitive. We might feel a bit insecure. We might feel a bit.
yeah.
Our self-esteem is rock
Mm,
bottom. So we're just going to be attuned to the feeling, not to the facts. And I think that's the bit that we've got to try and take ourselves accountable for and go, I am in a vulnerable space. This is not the most ideal setting, but I'm going to do my best to try and listen to me. I'm going to listen out to the triggers. I'm going
mm.
to do my best to manage that for me, not for anyone else, but for me.
And that's your internal world. Like we our, we have this whole world that goes on that no one else knows about, and I just love
No.
it. And it doesn't, and it's and that's your safe space. That can be that safe space, and it's like just noticing that. Okay, these people are, making me feel this particular way, but actually that's on them, and it's not our job to change people's perception of us. I think when we people please, we think that our job is to kind of convince everybody we're not what they think we are. I spent years doing that.
Mm,
And you just think, actually, what is it? Your perception of me is a reflection of you. And
yeah.
I just say that constantly in my head. And I think, well, because you can't
Going to write that one down quickly,
sometimes,
by the way.
yeah. And I think it is about, like you say, it's about, okay, managing and noticing how you're feeling and almost talking yourself down, or parenting, like you say, using the let them. And as I was saying, the sort of drone thing, I quite like the feeling that we can kind of helicopter above ourselves and just talk ourselves like, it'll be fine. It's a meal, it'll pass. you
Mm.
know that person will go away in a moment and they'll go into the other room, or they'll be back. And it's all of that, because yeah, and then it's just the noticing, like you say, about what's going on in it for you in that moment, and making sure that you're not overly anxious, and you can calm yourself. Remember, your internal world, you've got so much control that we don't realize we have in that moment.
And you're just covering a point that I think I was trying to articulate earlier in my mind before I said it, and you've helped me unknowingly. Thank you.
Oh.
But we don't know what's going on for, no one knows what's going on
Mm.
for us. Transversely, we don't know what's going on for others. So if we are in a challenging setting with a family, 2, 4, 10, can you imagine? But essentially, we have to have a little bit of empathy and a little bit of understanding that other people's feelings and emotions also be on high alert, because we don't know what's going on for them either. And that empathy, to be able to be broad enough to say, it's not all about me in this room. I might feel awful today. I might not wanted
Yeah.
to wake up this morning, but I have to accept the fact that it isn't about me, because the way I feel. It feels like everyone's looking at me, or there's a sarcastic comment, or there was a
Mm.
bit of a hidden agenda behind that conversation earlier, but it might
Mm.
also be me.
Yeah.
So I also don't know what's going on for others. They might be critical because they're stressed, not because they're
Yeah.
nasty, but they're stressed.
Mm.
This person might
Mm.
be angry because, I don't know, they lost their job this week and I had no idea. We
Mm.
don't know these
Mm.
things are going on. So almost accepting the fact that everyone is trying to do their best, even though they might not be doing a very good job of it, they are trying to do their best. If we hold on to that, I think we've got half a chance of surviving.
I think that's a really, really good point. Yeah, I guess nobody. I'm again. I'm going to come from my own hilltop, but I don't believe that people are going to set out to, right, I'm going to absolutely ruin this Christmas. I think
Exactly.
it
It's not
is
intentional,
everybody's
is it?
just reacting, absolutely, and I think everybody's just reacting. And on the bone, in the bare bones of it, it's a lot of people in, and a lot of
Mm.
people in with not a lot of boundaries. Families don't really have the boundaries that we have in the outside world. So you're gonna get that, you're gonna get the comments, you're going to get the snipes, you're gonna get the passive aggressive. You're gonna, you know, you'll also get loads of, there's going to be lots of good interactions, I'm sure, but there's also going to be a lot of people together, and perhaps people that don't necessarily, I'm going to say, but probably they might not want to be there as well. Do you know, like, have we, you know, when you're all sort of
Absolutely.
forced together.
Yeah.
So it is about, if you choose to go, I think, then only choose to go if you can take the high ground, if you like, pick your battles,
Yeah.
go with curiosity, not blame. And if you can't go in that sense, don't go, because it's not healthy for anybody.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent. You just said about, you know, being healthy for anybody. I have this thought of how negatively we might be infiltrated by social media. And the
Mm,
reason why I say that is, imagine a setting of a family in a living room. They're all a bit full, they're all a little bit drunk,
mm,
and there's some intensity in the background. And then you've got your Instagram, TikTok feeds,
mm.
youngsters all
Oh,
delving
yeah.
into their phones to keep themselves occupied. What is the algorithm telling you? What is it
Mm,
exacerbating? What is it intensifying? And I know this sounds really old fashioned, but over the Christmas period, I'd play with kids. That's what I would do.
mm,
Would I be looking on my phone? No. There is no
mm.
reason. Doesn't matter how old you are, unless of course you've been given a phone for Christmas, because then that's obviously fine. But there isn't a situation more healthy than putting the phone down over Christmas.
Mm,
Read a book with one of the kids, play with toys, get involved, talk about old times. I think they're a way of investing in making sure. So it's almost like throwing a positive lens on things
mm.
to invest in the situation to give it half a chance.
Yeah.
I'm sure people don't want to see others on their phones when they're all, family together. Just a thought as you were chatting then.
Yeah. I love that. And that, I think, ties into guilt around gifts,
Oh
because
right,
yeah,
yeah.
you've now reminded me, and actually to the point of, when I do have,
What
because I
is the
don't have a lot of memories from childhood, but the ones I have are just snippets, and they are the ones where I had the connection. So I think that is a good point, because yes, we're going to have that comparisonitis. We all know, you know, whoever down the road that's going to be on Facebook with the present pal that's as big as the tree. We know that. And again, it's that, what's going on for them. You know, present buying is there's a lot of around that worth. Maybe that's their way. You know, it's like there's so many complexities to this sort of, you know, other people's dynamic, and we just get a little glimpse. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and so all we can do, like yourself, like you were saying, sorry, is look at what we can do. And I think I was looking at some of the things. I wrote some things down, and I thought, it's because what you said is so true. And I've put playing, so I know that I struggle at the moment to get time with my teenage son. But I tell you what, when I ask him about his game, or when I say, what's that? I can't shut him up. Now,
Off he
that's in a
goes.
good way. Off he goes, and I'm off on
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm on a wild goose chase with that. And the other day, I didn't necessarily have the time, but I sat there and I said, "Hey, let me watch you on this. Like what's going on?" And the excitement, you know, for him to share. And I know that,
That's
I,
pride.
mm,
Pride and interest and connection. Wow.
yeah,
Let's
because
let's not underestimate that. They're not just playing a game, they're playing
mm,
with their friends. They're
yeah, they
building
are. Yes,
relationships and
they
they're
are.
solving problems, and
Yeah.
they might have been on that game for months to get to where they
Mm,
let's not
mm,
underestimate the value of.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I jumped in, but
Yeah.
I'm getting
No,
kind of swept along with it.
it's good. It's a quick win. It's a quick win for parents, and it's free. And your parent
Yeah.
and your kids will just buzz off it. You know, it's
Yeah.
a real quick win to sit and say, "Hey, what's that?" And I think as well, when we are caught up in everything, what I absolutely love is, I always bring it back down to, and we've spoke a lot about this, but gentle gentle parenting. But you know what? If we are seeing our kids, if they truly seeing them, if we're listening to them, if we are connecting and hugging them and telling them we love them, like that, that's enough of the foundation. So just doing a little bit more of that will make such a difference. And if we've got extra time at home, like, and we can just down tools for those moments that we can and just connect with them a little bit more, I think it makes such a big difference.
Yeah. And it is investing in the piece. And the reason why I say that is, here's an example. I bought my youngest, he's 5 now, one of these like toy magazines that cost way too much, but it's a toy magazine,
Yeah.
and it had a little bit of I think it was Minecraft Lego, only about 6 to 8 pieces. He's not left this toy alone.
Oh.
Probably cost 4p to make. Now, why is it that he won't leave this alone? It's because I played with him with it. I helped him put it together. And we had a couple of imaginary stories. I'd probably play for about 10 minutes, if that, if I'm frank with you. But then his older brother joined in. So now it means something. That investment, and why the reason why I say investment in peace, is that if the kids feel like they're engaged and they're being, just like the example you shared a moment ago about the gaming prowess of your boy, I can only imagine that sense of connection and pride and just calm. If we can do that at Christmas, if we can play with our kids and actually play with them, just look at the delight in their eyes. That's what I mean, kind of investing in the piece, because I'm sure half an hour, 45 minutes later, when you're absolutely shattered and you want to go and let that mince pie go down and have a quick snooze on the sofa, kids are going to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. I've found, yeah, definitely, and I found that with my 6-year-old daughter, and it's so hard because we are working, we are busy. It's really difficult to sometimes find time. But I noticed not so long ago that I'd organised, where you put the toys away and they're all in, organised places. But actually,
There's a
it
pile for
was,
mine.
yeah. But then when she's coming to me bored, oh, I've got nothing to do. I'm like, yeah, there's loads of stuff there. But I realised,
It's got nothing to do with the toys to play with, is it?
yeah, no, it was different to that. I put them in an order that I probably assumed. I don't think I'd
Ah,
taken the
okay.
time. So what I did was we went back through it and we organised it and we found the toys, and that was a nightmare because you know what it's like. They find something they've seen or that's been there for ages, and then they want to play with something that you want to put in the bin.
Ah,
It's like a key ring or something. It's like, no,
yeah.
forget about
Two,
that.
two,
So
two
oh,
bags of toys that I was trying to get rid of a little while ago. They to the tip, or to give away to charity. And guess what? They've all been opened up. So anyway, yeah, I know what you mean.
exactly that. So it was stressful, but going through the whole thing. But actually, it just helped her to recognise, that there are things there that she didn't realise, and it just helped to refresh her. So I was trying to hold back on my organisation, but that was helpful that she went through it all. She organised the drawer herself. She knows where her stuff is. So that was
Yeah,
that
and,
was
and
helpful.
we can't rob our kids, can we? We've got to give them the tasks and the challenges. We can't keep doing things for them. And I think that's another thing perhaps that happens at Christmas. Keep the place tidy, wrapping paper everywhere, tidy up as you go along. There's a part of me that thinks, just relax,
Let it go.
just let it
Go on,
go.
Elsa.
Someone
Yeah,
drops a drink on the floor. Meh. It's
yeah.
it's just we'll come round to that, and we'll worry about the aftermath later. But let's just not bring in any negativity or critique
Mm.
into the fold. And I guess that's that investing in peace bit as well. It's just making sure that you're thinking of the bigger picture, maybe.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And planning in advance. If people, you know, again, we have different expectations of our home. I mean, I have no choice but to let it go with all the animals we've got going on here and whatever else. Like it's like the
Well, it's
the
Christmas for them too,
pair. Yeah, yeah, I know. And things are about to get a whole heap interesting around here, but it is a case of pick your battles, isn't it?
Yeah,
And also if and also it's great for your mental health as well to have a tidy space. So keep you, I say if that's the case, keep your bedroom, keep your bedroom on top, keep your bedding all nice and straight, keep your bedroom clean, go in there, have 5 minutes, just kind of, yeah, just try and kind of look after yourself as best as you can, because I know that some people like to keep it highly organized, and again it's really hard to do that at Christmas when you've got people in and out all the time and you feel like you might be waiting on people hand and foot. So it's just get, like you say, it's like when you were mayor, it's like you've got to pick your battles.
yeah. And I was just thinking then there is another way to play smart. Kids feel connected when you connect with them, play with
Mm,
them,
mm,
involve them, get them to help tidy up, get them to help,
yeah,
let's pick up the black sack together. Let's do this part of the room first, and then we'll go and do, it's just navigation. I
yeah.
think there's not to be underestimated. And while I think of it, what are you doing for Christmas? Because it's only a few days away. How are you celebrating this year?
We're going out for dinner. So talk about when you, so part of when we were talking is making a plan. So again, not having that big family unit, what we, I do put a plan in place for that. So it's good. We're going out for dinner.
Yeah,
So we've got my brother-in-law's coming over with his partner. So that's that sorted. To a
good.
local place around here. And then on Boxing Day we always go off to the pantomime.
Oh,
So
really? So,
mm,
what pantomime would that be?
it's in Stoke at
Right.
the Regent Theatre. So it's yeah, Puss in Boots. So we go all out on Boxing Day. We get front row seats, and yeah, we go and we really enjoy the pantomime. So yeah, that's like a bit of a tradition for us. And to be fair, that then is enough for all of us. I think the kids have felt like they've done enough there.
Yeah, yeah.
We've kind of I've circumnavigated Boxing Day in a way because we've got somewhere to go. So it's, again, I think it's just how it's worked out, but it's good.
So, what do you think the key takeaways are from today? What would be a good way to round up?
That Christmas is so, it's different, isn't it, for everybody? It's like,
Yeah,
I think the key takeaway is to pay attention to yourself and just notice what's going on for you, and be mindful and be able to, if you can't set a boundary, just think about what you can do in those situations to look after yourself. And yeah, I think, and remember, it's one day.
yeah.
And I have just seen Easter eggs in the shop, and
Oh my God.
sometimes it, honestly, I think if people are listening to this because they've got the struggles, or in, from a comparing to others point of view, then just think about the Easter eggs. Also, it never stops. You're gonna, if that happens, and we're all human, telling you now, next week we're all going to be like, we need to book that holiday. We've got to book that holiday because Jet
Yeah,
2 advert's going to be coming on. And so, take just kind of slow down, I would say. And in regards to, grief and difficult dynamics around family, just again, it's taking care. You don't have to be around certain family members. You can choose not to be.
mm,
And in terms of grief, it's doing it your way. It's doing
yeah.
it your way, and knowing that this is a heightened time of year, but there's help and resources out there for people as well. And yeah, there's it's just absolutely about acknowledging that you do things in your own time, and it's really personal thing, isn't it?
I think for me, the Mel Robbins let them, pick your battles, are sort of two things that sort of sit with me. Knowing that other people might be struggling too, so just being respectful of
Mm,
that group dynamic, the people that you're and family members that you're with. And I think the other one, this is more, this does resonate with me. There's an opportunity to eat yourself to death over Christmas, and I don't want to do that. So I've been working through a way to live as if I had already sort of committed to my 2025 New Year's resolution, which is not to have one, but don't gorge myself over Christmas. And I think the word that came up for me was just do and have enough. That's it. If I can share anything, and I hope it's a takeaway, and if you feel bad about your weight or your health is bad, slow down and do enough, and enjoy other experiences like playing with your kids.